Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco dishing out on the movies. Today we are starting out a new week of watching movies by Lon Chaney.
This was my idea.
Senior.
This was my idea because I thought, why not?
Why not?
And I also thought, I found out that on YouTube, actually, I don't know how long ago it was, we were supposed to review the movie The Man of a Thousand Faces, which is like a biography movie about him. But what happened with that was at the time, this is why streaming services are bad. One of the reasons why they're really terrible is because at any time they just make any movie unavailable to watch. Because, the rights haven't been licensed or something, they have to renew it. It's stupid. It's dumb. It's, movies, they should all be available all the time, like at a video store. They don't take movies away at video stores because they need to renew the license. It's stupid. And so we really wanted to watch that as a part of a movie making week or something. We were going to do movies about Hollywood, and we were going to do Mulholland Drive and what's that one, Sunset Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to do all these movies, and instead, we just kind of forgot about it. And I thought, since that movie, Man of a Thousand Faces, it's finally on YouTube, you can watch it for free. So I thought, take advantage and let's do a Lon Chaney month.
Well,
Safi?
I think it's a great idea. And, we hear a lot about the junior guy, his son. And we do hear some about him because he played in the Phantom of the Opera. And what was that other one? But he was a silent film actor mainly because he died early, probably too early to get into the real meat of talking movies. But in this movie, which kind of surprised me, this was a silent movie, but silence meaning there wasn't any conversation, but there was laughing. You could hear laughing. And there was also a lion growling, so I think they were starting to experiment. And this was, I think, MGM's first movie of this kind. And so, that was a major studio, so why not start experimenting? I mean, because, they would come in with talking movies, after that, so... He got sick and he died, but he was known for a Man of a Thousand Faces because one of his expert of his expertise, he could do makeup. Really, they have a picture of him with this makeup kit. I don't know if it really looks that magnificent or not, but
it does, and they still have it. And,
really?
And I think you can buy it. Let's see, how much did someone purchase for it? I'm going to look it up, but this is because all the actors back then in the silent movie era, they all did their own makeup and hair because, they didn't really, I think the studios, either they didn't have enough money to get people to do that, or they didn't even think about someone specializing in that. And so I'm going to look it up, but that's why, I guess he just thought, and I think it's too bad that he's not around today, because it would have been cool to get a master class from him.
Yeah.
Where it's a makeup master class where he teaches you how to use all these tools in the makeup kit to, make whatever face that you want. Because I think that, a lot of actors nowadays too, they would probably think nah, that's lazy and cheap. But it's really not. You look at all the makeup jobs that he came up with are better than most of the makeups that they make nowadays.
And it added to, because silent movies were very visual, plus they had music too in this. I mean, it was just tons of music which would heighten the mood or the feeling or emotion of the particular scene they were doing. And his parents were both deaf. So he knew this American Sign Language. He knew about being visual was very, very important. So this makeup and all that, it all played in to him being an expert at it and being a really good actor and very much admired by many people.
No, there's a replica makeup kit on eBay.
Oh, yeah.
It costs a lot of money.
I bet.
But the real one is at the Natural History Museum.
Well, that makes sense.
So, anyways, this movie, I decided to review this because it said that it was one of his well-known movies on IMDb, and I just thought, let's go with the ones that, are most popular, because, it makes a lot more sense to do that than to just pick, like, a random movie, like when we reviewed Ace of Hearts. So, Safi, talk about the movie. It's 6 minutes into the review and you haven't said anything about the movie.
Well, the name of it is really strange.
No, it's not.
I think it is, and I had no idea. I try not to have any expectations. And it's he who gets slapped.
Yeah.
So,
what's wrong with that?
It's just different.
So?
And he plays a scientist who is working on theories related to the origin of man.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
He's married, and when they first started out as a scientist, they were really poor, and he couldn't get much funding. And so this Baron, Redman, I believe, he decided he's a bad guy. I'll just say that. He decided to fund him. So, during their, what would you call it? His research, the Baron cozies up to his wife. And we don't really see that, but I had a suspicion. Because he comes out of his office and he says, all of my theories are proved correct. And he has this big, thick sheath of notes in his hand. Now it's time for me to go to the academy. So some kind of academy of sciences. And this was made in 1924. Okay? So the Baron says, okay, I'll set it up for you. So he goes, I'm really tired and I'm going to go to sleep. So he locks the notes into a little cupboard and takes the key with him. Well, when he's asleep, his wife takes the keys and hands them over to the Baron, and they share a kiss. So it's exactly what I thought. They were having an affair. And she gets the notes and gives them to him. Now this is the only problem I have with the movie, I believe, is that he's going to give a talk at this academy. He's going to have notes. So if the Baron takes his only set of notes, because I didn't see any other set.
No, he didn't have any other notes.
When he was going to give the presentation and he opened the cupboard, there wouldn't be anything in there.
Yeah, so that indicates that he did not even open the safe to look for the notes.
Which is odd. If you're going to give a presentation, you're going to need your notes. Do you really have it all in your memory?
I guess so. I mean, that's the only reason you could say.
That was bizarre to me.
Well, I didn't really notice it because I just felt like, I was going along with it, and I didn't even think about it because I don't know. Like, he saw, and that's the other weird thing is, the guy was using his notes and he was reading off of them. And so he finally noticed that, like, oh, he has my notes. Like, uh-oh. But what I thought, though, was, like, I haven't read Prince and the Pooper, but, I did see the Wishbone episode, where in order to test who was the real prince, they had Wishbone, or I guess both Wishbones, do that test where they tested their paw prints on the paper, and they figured out that, oh shit, they're switched and that's not the real prince and the real prince is actually the poor one or whatever. Like, remember that, Safi? And like, I thought, these people, they're supposed to be smart people, these science people. They're at the academy. It's not the Oscars Academy, but it might as well be because that's how stupid they are. And I thought, an easy way that you could figure this out is you could have them do a handwriting test, and you could have a handwriting expert determine which person's handwriting is the handwriting on the notes. Like, they didn't even want to hear that, though. They didn't even want to entertain that idea, and I just think that that's kind of stupid. Like, it really, to me, I think that that's a little bit of a flaw, is that, like, they could have showed that he bribed them or something, beforehand, and that's why they're not gonna even try like a handwriting test or anything. Like, why wouldn't they?
Well,
that would be an easy way.
The only thing I could think of is that he's a scientist, but he's been really by himself and not really out there, like, associated with the university or anything, so nobody knows about him.
That doesn't matter.
Well, I know that.
He was sitting
would have helped.
He was sitting in that special seat too.
He had no allies at all.
He was sitting in that special seat too. The special seat, like they had, it was like a trial. It was like a courtroom. Just, Safi, get out. If you're gonna just keep doing that, get out. If they have like the setup like that where he's sitting in this spot as if he's related to this study, like, because the guy said he hired him as an assistant, he was lying, and so, but he was in that area, and so they should have at least said, we're gonna do a handwriting test, but they didn't. It was just an automatic, oh, he's just lying, and I don't know what they're thinking too, because why would an assistant all of a sudden decide to, like, steal the idea and be like, oh, it's actually my idea? Like, would that really be the smart thing to do? Like, wouldn't the smart thing have been to steal the idea before the actual presentation? Because that's what the guy did. They didn't even think about that either, right?
It's just a disaster, and the problem is
it's contrived.
This kind of thing really happens.
It does.
And it's and also the thing is about when you're a scientist, I told Marco this, when we were in Tanzania, there was another anthropologist.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a whole ream of notes, like a paper pack full of notes. And his suitcase was stolen, and the notes were in the suitcase. So all of his notes were stolen. But guess what he had done? He made a copy.
Whoa.
And so if he hadn't had that copy, all of his notes would be gone, just like this guy.
Copies are for babies.
No, they're not.
Copies.
Because when you copy things on the computer all the time.
Copies are for beta males.
Well, that's stupid to say.
Why?
But anyway, but I know of other cases, and I like people getting, I know somebody who was a graduate student working on his PhD dissertation, and his advisor stole all of his work and presented it as his own. So this thing can happen nowadays in any field. And the thing is, this guy, it wasn't his work, and he doesn't really know about it. He would be so limited by his notes. I know we're just going on and on about it, but it's just so. Well, that's bizarre.
That's the setup for the whole movie, so it's kind of important to talk about it.
So what happens is when the guy says, "Well, these are my findings; they're not his," and they slapped him and laughed at him.
Yeah.
And that's when the whole thing starts. I don't know what the deal is this evening. We were going to do this afternoon, and we were in a place that wasn't very good sound quality.
Well, so, anyways, we're not going to go through the entire plot like Safi likes to do.
You don't need to.
That's the setup, and the story is that he plays a clown, in this circus act where it's called, like, He Who Gets Slapped. And it's all about, like, they have, like, a horse rider and a guy and a girl, and they have them ride around, and then they have all these clowns.
Lots.
And Lon Chaney,
50.
Lon Chaney is the head clown, and he keeps trying to speak, but then he gets slapped and laughed at, and he laughs, and so he gets slapped over and over again, to the point of where it's very, very sadistic and brutal. You know, this movie, it's a lot like Joker, you know, actually. Like, you could actually put Joker on this movie and pretend like it's a Joker movie, and it would literally be perfect, because it's so much like the Joker. You know, Lon Chaney's performance, like, I feel like if you were to play the Joker, you should model it after this character, partly, because that's what it reminded me of. Now, there were a couple of issues that I had. The biggest issue was the fact that it was very cliche. You know, we have seen 2 movies now where you have Lon Chaney and he plays a sad guy, and then you have a young guy. You have a young guy and a young girl, and Lon Chaney is in love with the girl, but she ends up with the young guy, and then Lon Chaney kills all the bad guys. That literally happened in Ace of Hearts. Remember, Safi, Ace of Hearts?
Yeah.
Where he was in love with that girl, and she said, "Fuck you, I want to be with that boring-looking guy." And then Lon Chaney ends up killing the, ew, what the fuck is that? Ace of Hearts with Dean Cain? The fuck? Yeah, there it is. Like, in that movie, you know, he ended up suicide bombing this conspiracy group so that then the young guy could get away with the young girl. You know, we watched that movie, we reviewed it. It was the exact same thing that happened. And in this movie, what do you know? The exact same thing happens. Lon Chaney, he's in love with this girl who, you know, she's kind of mid. And, I mean,
she's a young girl, and he's a lot older.
Well,
and we don't understand either. There's another, quote, flaw. The Baron was having an affair with his wife, right? She's the one that gave him the notes.
And she disappears from the movie.
She disappears, but shows up at the
Marie.
very end because this Baron comes in there to this. This is a circus.
Mediocre Marie.
And he comes in there and he spots this young girl.
Mid-tier
on
Marie.
this bareback horse, and she does all these tricks with a partner.
She's good at riding a horse, and that's why Lon Chaney falls in love with her, apparently. And her name is Consuela.
And her father wasn't he a baron too, or
Safi,
something?
No, he was a count. He was
Count.
Count
right.
Mancini.
That's right.
But Safi, is there anyone nowadays named Consuela? Like, because I feel like that's a name that, like, people only use in, like, role-play fantasy land.
I don't know,
like,
maybe.
Nobody's named Consuela anymore.
It's Spanish.
That's like in that Malcolm in the Middle episode where Hal and Lois were role-playing in that car. When, remember, the car was, he stole the car, and she said that you can call me Consuela and you're whatever. Like, that was queer. But anyways, back to my point. In this movie, because Safi interrupted it, so now you're going to have to go back and remember it. But in this movie, the same thing happens, where Lon Chaney is in love with Consuela, this young girl, and then there's this young guy, and in order to save their relationship, Lon Chaney sacrifices himself and defeats the bad guys and kills them, and then he dies too, and then the young couple gets away forever, and they get to have a happy ending. It's like, how many times is this gonna fucking happen? Like, did Lon Chaney have some sort of a clause in his contract called the sad guy clause?
Like they said this, though, in the research about him, that he played these sad parts.
Yeah.
I mean, he must have played other ones, too.
Well, it bothers me because they say that he has this big range. And I think that he does. And so that's why it's sad that, like, instead of allowing him to, achieve different outcomes in these movies, he's forced to play the same role over and over again. And so it's kind of like ironic, this movie where, it's basically about this guy replaying this trauma over and over again as by playing this clown. And in a way, like, that's what Lon Chaney, the actor, did by playing the same character over and over again. Like, because you think about The Hunchback. We talked about that with Wishbone. What happens in that? Lon Chaney is in love with the girl. You have a bad guy and a young guy, and they're both in love with the girl. The girl's not going to be with Lon Chaney, of course.
Right.
And then Lon Chaney defeats the bad guy, and the young guy gets away with the young girl. Okay, seen that before. What happens in Phantom of the Opera? Lon Chaney's a sad phantom, and he's in love with the girl. There's a young guy, he's in love with the girl. Lon Chaney is the bad guy in that movie because he's a phantom. And then he gets defeated, and the young guy gets away with the young girl. I mean, seriously?
And it's a shame, because at first I thought he was with her.
Yeah.
Because they
look a lot alike, these silent actors,
have
They're
the
so much alike.
same haircuts.
Yeah, same clothes.
Same color of hair, almost.
Same facial expressions.
And then the eye makeup, too. It's, I don't know. But what they made him, they distinguished him finally by just having him wear this clown outfit constantly. So you knew he was the loser. And actually, the guy, the woman was partnering with on the horse, I think that was the guy. They had, they wanted to get married.
That was, his name was Bronzino.
And she didn't want to marry this baron. And
this old man, senior citizen.
he brought her these pearls, I think. There were pearls, and her father said, "No, you can't give those to her unless you ask her to marry."
And I would like to make a point too, because it's very relevant to nowadays. Because nowadays, a lot of women, they're basically like glorified. Can
Marco.
Can you say that word, Safi?
Glorified.
They're say it.
Glorified.
Prostitutes.
Oh, Marco.
because
that's just terrible.
because you have to give them money and then you have sex with them and then it's like
she didn't
they're
want it.
they're prostitutes.
Well, she didn't want him.
But no, I'm trying to make a point now. I'm trying to make a man point. But back then it was like they were also glorified prostitutes, but it was their daddies who were prostituting them.
Yeah, he was the
And
one.
so-
You know why? Because he wanted a loan.
Yeah.
From the baron.
And so what I'm
It was
saying
like a
is
payment.
it's interesting how the idea of feminism was, instead of my dad prostituting me, I can prostitute myself, thank you very much. That's what women do nowadays. It's like, oh, they want to prostitute themselves. They don't want their daddies to prostitute them.
I don't know what Marco was talking about.
It's true.
But he's...
Look it up. Go out in public.
Cut it out, Marco.
You see it everywhere.
Cut it out. Anyway, so her dad was just as terrible as this baron. And so what does this baron do? He's been having an affair this whole time with that scientist's wife.
Mediocre
You know what he
Marie.
does? He goes there and he gives her a check. Now, I couldn't read how much he gave her. And then he says goodbye. And she's like, oh.
I missed that part.
No, I saw it, but I couldn't read the check. And that was the end of her and him. So, anyway, Lon Chaney ain't going to put up with it. So he lets loose a lion while the clowns were waiting for him.
Well, we should also mention the fact that she laughs at the idea of being with him, and she laughs at the idea that he's in love with her.
She thinks
it's an stop interrupting me, because you're just kind of ruining my points. Like I can make my own points.
Okay, Marco.
Like how this movie showed, like, back then, dads prostituted their daughters all the time, and it was a normal thing, totally normal. That, like, instead of having a normal relationship, your father just pays for your father accepts payment from an old man to get your daughter, which sometimes that happens nowadays too, in other countries, and other cultures, but nowadays women get to prostitute themselves, so it's kind of like it's empowering, that they get to do that, right, Safi? Is that the idea?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Is it?
That's BS.
And so, Marie, I would say that was a big flaw of the movie, was that we didn't really get to see Marie. Marie is just kind of a footnote in the movie, which is kind of odd, because that was Lon Chaney's love interest, and he's like, fuck that bitch. But, like, really? Like, it's just kind of strange how Lon Chaney jumped from being in love with one girl to another, and it's like we didn't really get to see that properly. It was kind of not properly developed, their whole relationship, if you want to call it that. And so that would be one of the flaws with the movie. But in general, I really did like the movie. I thought it was entertaining for being a silent movie. I did watch a version on YouTube, and the person did not do a very good job with the music. It was somebody trying to do their own music.
I thought the music was, the version I got, I thought it was really good.
Well, you didn't watch the same version as me, Safi.
I really liked it, and it was very, and I didn't realize, and I don't know why, because it's pretty obvious, that the music set the tone for everything.
Yes, Safi.
And it was so neat. One of the best things is they had these, like Marco said, this big set of clowns. There were like 50 of them, all dressed the same. And they would come out there, and then and Lon Chaney would be dressed differently. And he would be in the middle of them. They played this kind of a march. And it was really a cool music. I just didn't realize, and every little emotional, negative, positive, loving, hating, everything was illustrated with some kind of music that they added to it. And it fit. It was really well edited, I thought, with the music, the way they did it. I really, really liked it.
And so this was when Safi realized for the first time in history that music is supposed to assist the movie. It's not supposed to just be in the background as though it's like it's being forced to be there. It's supposed to actually assist the storytelling. It's actually supposed to guide you through the emotions that you're supposed to be feeling.
And it did.
Nowadays, they don't do that anymore because it's too hard. They just want to have, like, oh, we have to have music here, so let's just put the soundtrack in. Let's just put the generic soundtrack in, and nobody ever cares about that music. Nobody listens to it. But for these older movies, they thought about that. Like that Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
Like when those terrible things are happening and they're just playing like casual, old-timey music. Like that's what they do nowadays. They don't really play music that actually fits the movie and tries to boost it. They play music that's just there.
And it wasn't cheap music, and it wasn't basic. It was like in between, like orchestral, band, light. It was perfect for the movie. Perfect. Every scene had its own special little whatever tune, and I loved it. It really, for me, it added everything. And then you just have this bear laughter every time they slapped him. Ha, 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 ha. But it was very faint. And then you had the lion. And you had this growl or roar. It was kind of between a growl and a roar. It wasn't real loud. But that's why I said I think they were starting to experiment.
Are you sure that that's the original version? Because it could be. It could be that is not the original version.
Well, I don't know.
Because nowadays
that.
they keep on redoing silent movies all the time, so that they can make money. And so I think that could just be something that they've done now.
I don't know, because I don't know how they come up with all that music. As far as the laughter and the lion, that's another story.
They've done it over and over again with a lot of silent movies. And I have a problem with that, because I'd like them to say, like, which specific versions they are and when they actually changed the music, because I'd like to listen to the original music. But, because one thing is, like, with a lot of these silent movies, they played the music in the theater as people were watching the movies.
That's what I was thinking. They would have what was it? Not an organ, like an organ or a piano.
Yeah.
And they would have somebody sitting there and they would play the music. But this was an MGM movie.
Yeah.
This wasn't just a regular.
Oh,
So I'm thinking that they had access to bigger and better things.
What do you think MGM is like your Lord and Savior or something?
No, I'm just saying they had access
It's
to
an
things
MGM
like that.
movie.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, Marco. I guess we'd have to find out if that music was. I don't know how we do that, but just see if we can do a little research on it and see if we can find it.
Well, I could tell that the kind that I was watching was not the original. I could tell that it was some guy who's like, I want to do my own music and kind of have fun with it and, kind of do something fun here. It was like, nice try, buddy. Go back to making student films. But I would say...
I didn't get that impression at all.
You didn't watch the version that I watched, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
On mine.
Well, who cares?
Of course.
That's we're not talking about yours. I was talking about the version I watched.
Okay.
So I would say that as well. Would the movie have been would the movie have been good without Lon Chaney? Because I think that's a big thing too. Like the story is good, but I think that Lon Chaney elevates it. So, Safi?
So do I.
Take the doo-doo out of your ears.
And maybe he did everybody's makeup. And the makeup
No. Everyone did their own makeup in silent movies, Safi.
Well, he had this the first clown outfit, he had a little heart. And when they would slap him and he would be so sad, it would come out. He would be holding it in his hand or something. I mean, he just did all these little things to add to his performance, which I thought was very clever.
I would say that my favorite part of the movie... Well, actually, that leads me to my next flaw.
Brother.
Well, it's not really a flaw. It's just a question of why. So, in the movie, he traps these bad guys in a room while they're celebrating and having champagne and talking about how, yay, we get to do our evil deal, and the young girl gets prostituted to the old man. Yay!
Well, it's the Baron and her father.
And Lon Chaney locks the room from one side, but then he leaves this other door unlocked that has a lion in a cage, and he sets it up to where the lion will be able to get be set loose on them. But my question was, by this point they had stabbed Lon Chaney. The dad did. The Count did.
He had a big, like a saber thing in his cane that he could pull out. And he rammed it into him, but I could tell that it was on his side.
Well, that's fine. I mean, who cares?
Yeah, I don't care.
But the question that I have is, in that moment, instead of grabbing the key to that door from him, because they could easily do that. I mean, they could literally just slit his throat or just do anything, hold him down and get the key. Instead of doing that, they try to open the door without his key, which was idiotic. And then they just give up on it and they go open the other door. And that's where they get fucked up. And it's like, why didn't you just get the key from Lon Chaney? Right, Safi? Did you notice that?
Yeah, I just thought they were very smart.
Well, that you can always use that excuse, I
also
guess.
that they thought they knew better.
Oh.
They knew what to do. That was better than just getting the key from him. Their way was better.
Oh.
Like they're superior.
Oh.
Because the Baron said, I don't like clowns.
Oh, yeah, that might have been my favorite part of the movie. There's a part where where they have an interaction and he doesn't know that Lon Chaney is the scientist yet. And he says, I don't like clowns. And then Lon Chaney says, I don't like barons. And the Baron's like, nyeh.
But then they show, they did something with the film so where he could see under all that makeup that was the scientist. And he gets all disturbed. Like, uh-oh.
Yeah, he gets upset because he realizes he's going to get fucked up. And so they get, a lion is set loose on them, and the lion kills both of them. I thought that was really cool because I feel like nowadays that lion would be a computer. Like that lion would not be a real lion. No way. It would be too expensive with the insurance, and it would be too hard to do that. And so it would just be a computer-generated lion, and it wouldn't look as cool. I just think, this is back when they made good movies and when they would do stuff like this. And so I just thought that was really cool, the lion. Right, Safi?
Yeah, I think some of the things that they did in the past, though, with the animals, they didn't treat them right.
Well, did you think that
it was a very scrawny lion, and the lion tamer
I don't know.
Came in there, and I think it was a woman, and she put him back. She didn't know what was going on, and she got the lion. She made him go back into his cage, and she put him to bed. It was over.
Well,
and then I guess they found, and then they could see the clown. They said they had this thing. It was some kind of machine, and if it was your cue to come on, they would play it. It didn't really make a noise, I don't think, but it was this big thing that was on the wall.
But isn't MGM the company with the lion as well in the logo where the lion roars?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of fitting that MGM's first movie is like they have a lion defeating the bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Oh.
So.
And at the end, I told you guys, Lon Chaney Jr. Not Junior, Senior, he is stabbed and he dies. But one thing to mention, which I read in the trivia, was that apparently in the book, and now Safi's going to say, what? I guarantee. So guys, just wait for it. So in the book, somehow there was supposed to be poisoned champagne like in Hamlet, and the girl was supposed to drink the poisoned drink on purpose to kill herself, and then Lon Chaney was supposed to wake up and then drink the drink like Romeo and Juliet and kill himself
sounds
too.
Like Romeo and Juliet.
That's how the book ends.
That's stupid.
Damn it, you didn't go, what?
Doesn't make any sense.
That's what you like to do.
What? I didn't think of him. The girl liked him a lot. And she helped him and worried about him and supported him, but she wasn't in love with him. He was her friend. She was in love with the young guy who did the horse, who rode bareback on the horse with her. It was like an act.
Yeah, she prefers a guy who can ride a horse to a guy who can get slapped and take it like a man.
Yeah, and they would show the audience, and everybody was laughing hysterically every time he got slapped, which, I don't know, I didn't think it was that funny, but...
It wasn't funny, but to the audience watching the movie, it wasn't supposed to be funny. It was supposed to be dark and tragic, and so you can kind of suspend disbelief and go, they're people in the 20s, they don't have much to laugh at except for, the Great Depression. I mean, that's why it's called the Great Depression, Safi, because they needed something to laugh at.
I know.
Right?
I had parents who lived the Great Depression.
So, I mean, they needed something to laugh at, and it's like, I'm just settled for anything, I guess. A guy gets slapped. Like, It's better to laugh at that than to suffer like they did in the Grapes of Wrath. Right, Safi?
Yeah.
Because that's what they were going through, the Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It would have been cool to see Lon Chaney in the Grapes of Wrath with Lon Chaney Jr. Like, if Lon Chaney had not died at that point, they could have done that.
I know. It's very, I would say, it was a very big loss.
Yeah, like,
when he died.
can't we trade in Jennifer Lawrence for Lon Chaney to come back? Right, Safi?
Yeah,
right.
Sure. There's never going to be another Lon Chaney Sr. And there's never going to be another Lon Chaney Jr.
But there will be 1,000 more Jennifer Lawrences.
Yeah.
Because they're all the same.
That's right.
Just young girls that want attention.
Marco doesn't like Jennifer Lawrence, so I guess you haven't figured that out yet. So I guess we should, if we don't have anything else to say, I guess we should give our food review. And I just thought it was a very simple movie. And I gave it Jell-O with whipped cream on top, and the whipped cream represented the clowns, and the Jell-O was the basic story. And it wiggled, and it wiggles because that's kind of the flaw of that note thing. It just kind of bugs me because I just think because I've been associated with academia.
Oh, really?
It kind of just, it bugs me about the notes. And it bugs me that somebody would take them. Because I didn't get what the Baron's, I didn't get what his, what the motive for him to do that.
He's a rich jackass.
And unless it was just to be a big jackass jerk. I mean, I just don't know what else. Why would he's not going to get any glory from that.
No.
And it would be the other guy. And and the thing is, the whole thing was revolved around anthropology. It was the origin of man.
Well, I think it's interesting, that the fact that Lon Chaney, of all people, he discovered the origin of man. Like, isn't that hilarious?
Yeah. Yeah. So what about your food review?
Well, I would give it a nice hot dog. A nice hot dog with... I like to vary what I have on my dogs. Some of them, I could just eat a hot dog without anything. Just with the bun. If I was in a weird mood. If I was in a Dirty Harry kind of mood. Because didn't he do that? Like, I think...
Oh, I don't know.
In the first Dirty Harry movie, because there's this one part where he gets a hot dog, and I could swear that either he just puts mustard on it, or he doesn't put anything on it, and he just eats it all by itself or something. Like, I can't remember, but like... I like to vary what I have on my hot dogs, and I would say that this movie is like a hot dog with nothing on it. And I say that in a good way, to where, like, sometimes, you might be in the mood for a hot dog without anything on it. But other times you might be like, ew, that sounds like something Sleepy Safi would eat. Because this movie, you think of Lon Chaney, he is kind of like a hot dog. He performs the same role in every movie, just like a hot dog. You can't really do much different with a hot dog, right, Safi? Like,
well, you grill it or
no,
you
but
boil
it's still a hot dog.
Hot dog is a hot dog is a hot dog.
Just like Lon Chaney, he is a hot dog of an actor, and so. But if you took the hot dog out of the bun, you wouldn't have much to do with it. So, like, that's another thing, is that, like, this movie, if you took the hot dog out of the bun, you're taking Lon Chaney out of the movie. And it's like, if you take Lon Chaney out of the movie, you're taking the movie out of the movie. Because that is the movie. I mean, Lon Chaney is the movie. So nobody wants to eat a movie without a movie. Right, Safi?
Right.
Suck on that.
Marco's a goofy.
What do you mean?
Marco's a goofball.
It makes sense. Why don't you slap yourself now?
That's weird.
Why?
Okay, Keep going.
What do you mean keep going? I don't
you
have
done?
anything else to say.
Okay, so
Lon Chaney's good. I hope that he gets some kind of romance interest somewhere in this movies, because like this is bullshit. Like when's he gonna get a love interest himself? Like why is it in every single fucking movie he gets nothing? He gets nothing, Lon Chaney. Did he get anything in real life? He must have, because there's Lon Chaney Jr. So, what's up with that, Safi?
I don't know. They really liked him.
You said he had wives.
He had a lot of...
Did he have a harem in real life?
No.
Did he
Wasn't
have
like that at all.
It was kind of like his makeup.
No.
It was kind of like his makeup kit,
No.
where he just has all these women of different kinds.
He wasn't like that at all. He had a first wife, and they performed together like vaudeville.
Oh.
And she was a singer.
Nobody likes vaudeville.
She had a baby, so that's Lon Chaney Jr.
Vaudeville's gay.
And then they had marital problems, and she tried to commit suicide.
Oh.
And she it hurt her voice.
Oh.
It was damaged forever.
Oh.
They ended up getting divorced.
Oh.
He married again years later, and that's the woman that he was with until he died.
He was such a
And
bad...
They adopted, he ended up adopting with her, his firstborn son.
He was such a bad...
The other marriage.
He was such a bad love interest. She tried to kill herself.
I don't think that's right. But at his funeral,
That's hilarious.
I tried to see, they had a Marine Corps band or something in the guard at his funeral, and I was thinking, was he in the Marines? And he wasn't, so they had a moment of silence at the studio. And I mean, they did all these special things because they really, really thought a lot of him.
He was really good at acting like a loser, and he was also he was really good at acting, but he was really bad at other things, and
Whatever.
so she tried. That's pretty hilarious.
No,
you didn't mention that. You just said that she had some sort of problem.
See what I saw.
No, that's
Okay.
pretty hilarious.
Okay, I don't think it's hilarious.
Why?
So anyway, that's the end of it. We'll be watching more movies, so be on your guard, and that's it. So become one of our subscribers and give this video a thumbs up. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.